Hey, I have an argument and debate with a liberal extremist who believes that truth is relative, even though he acts as if his supposed truth is what everyone should accept because he's a massive hypocrite and self-righteous. This is the key here, is an absolute truth, that there is no absolute truth. When I was in Florida International University, I asked my teacher from Spain, who was racially a goth, so I was more Spanish than her. Anyway, she didn't answer the question clearly. She just gave a long talk without actually answering the question. It's a simple yes or no question, and the fact that they have to go into a long speech is to hide the fact that they don't have an answer, a solid, unequivocal answer. And this is another example of that. They call themselves wisdom bites. In other words, they pretend to be wisdom incarnate, which is narcissistic. And if you're listening to me, hi, how are you? They say, enemy of Islam is not non-Muslims, it is their own deluded belief of a non-existent God, and God's will as interpreted by powerful and vocal people. I said atheism is shit. I got many videos proving atheism is insanity and worse than Nazism. I'm not exaggerating. Atheists are superstitious people who blindly believe that Frankenstein is real and time exploded and subhuman blacks were a thing, which is racist fiction. And here it would be was real, because they don't think it's around anymore. Then they say, didn't you see Nazis with cross tattooed? They too followed one God in a book, just same as Islam, but a different name. So I said, real Christians don't use the cross as a symbol, which God forbids lest people treat it as God himself. My series Exposing Heretics explains Nazis were macro-revolutionists. They're anti-Genesis, so they're anti-Bible. Racism is against God's will to love fellow man. And then he also said this, or the gist of this, which is, truth is relative and subjective. You just justified stealing from you. Liberalism is poison. You were indoctrinated to regurgitate that lie. The truth is that people like you will have trouble with this question, as I know from experience asking it. Is it an absolute truth that there are no absolute truths? He never answers this question. It's a simple yes or no question. He can't answer a simple yes or no question. Either it is absolutely true that there are no absolute truths, or it isn't true. You act as if all interpretations were valid. So someone claiming Jesus was actually a bearded lady is as scripturally based as me. You know that's nonsensical. You know not all interpretations are equal. So why do you act as if they were? You judge superficially. Oh, they make similar claims, so they have similar substance or lack of substance to back it up. Nope. Someone claiming Jesus was a bearded lady cannot have scriptural support in the least. You know it. I've got the K, or it didn't get pressed well here because my laptop is old. Actually, my battery is already dead. It just transfers the electricity, so as soon as there's a blackout, my computer shuts down immediately. Anyway, it's objective because we can read the same words. I had asked you, is it an absolute truth that there are no absolute truths? And someone claiming Jesus was actually a bearded lady is scripturally based as me? You didn't answer clearly. They're simple yes or no questions. Hold on. Here they say everything is relative is absolute truth. And maybe they responded to that one. Maybe they made a response that doesn't show up here because YouTube is bad. It doesn't show everything. I have to go to the notification section. So before that, they said liberalism is relative to everything is relative. Hold on. That's why your wife is someone's daughter, friend, enemy, sister, mother at the same time. There is no absolute wife, just like that every perception is relative. Jesus is God to someone, he is son to someone else, friend to another, a historical figure to another, or even enemy to another. There's no absolute Jesus, that's the truth. That truth is relative. You don't need a book to know this. Your own experience and intellect is enough to find out. Allah too is just a relative figure. Allah to one Muslim is different to Allah to another Muslim. Even within a family, interpretations differ. Even with your own self, your interpretations change with mood. The only truth is your Allah is truth to you at some point of time maybe, but another time you probably will be interpreting him getting angry at you. So you see Allah is in your mind just like any other God is in individual's mind, he said. And that's what I had responded to with this. And then he says this. Everything is relative is absolute truth. There you go as my answer. I'm not going to answer your Jesus question as it is out of context and I haven't said anything about that. I have no idea what you're trying to say. Maybe you should elaborate your question. By the way, male and female have become relative too. With advancements in technology, barf, male can have female organs and female can have male organs, so this further proves relativism. So his supposed answer, everything is relative, is absolute truth, is equivocation. You didn't actually say if it is an absolute truth that absolute truths don't exist. He answered a question I didn't ask, moving the goalpost for his special pleading fallacy, that he can make absolute statements such as everything is relative is absolute truth, while denying others the same privilege. Then he talks about lying about gender as if that proves him right. I originally laughed. I plan a video using your material. Maybe 12 people will see it, but it's worth doing because what you said is funny. Is your username complaining that wisdom bites? Wisdom bites? The question about if Jesus being a bearded lady was valid to view as that he was a man is to test if you see is to test you to see if you are willing to be consistent with your position that all views are equally valid or invalid, except the ones you make exceptions for by your authority. Sarcasm here, of course. So it's not out of context, it's totally relevant. You need not mention beards for me to be able to put this challenge forward. It serves as an example where, were you to be consistent in answering it, which you refuse to do, you would look rather silly, as if you would believe that he could have been a bearded lady. Arjun laughed, and then he said, okay, I get what you're trying to ask. Bearded lady is Jesus if you have that affiliation, and bearded lady is not Jesus if you don't have that affiliation. A blind person touching the leg of an elephant and describing it like a tree trunk is right from his context. Another blind man describing an elephant as a snake by feeling the tail is right too from his context. Similarly, every one of us have our own context based on our upbringing, etc. Bearded lady is Jesus for those who are brought up in that context, and non-Jesus, or not Jesus for those who are not grown up in that background. So everything is relative again. Smile, wink. Show me absolute left or right, and then come back to me to show your absolute truth. So he's challenging me without answering my challenges. Your question is easy to answer, but I play fair now with cheaters who want me to play fair but don't play fair themselves by answering my questions unequivocally, which I asked first. One standard for me and one for you. That's not fair, so you first. Or keep running away while claiming to be wisdom incarnate. Then I told him, oh, now I now see your earlier post where you attempted to answer. It didn't show up in my notifications. Beard lady is Jesus, he says, depending on who you are. But I didn't ask you that. The question remains, someone claiming Jesus was actually a beard lady is as scripturally based as me. It's a simple yes or no question. Why are you having trouble with it? What are you scared of? If what you say is true, then you should have fearlessness, except you say your truth is relative, which means you're wrong according to your own paradigm. That's how insane liberalism is. And relativism. Where wrong and right are both wrong and right. Really, this is absurd. I live in a time where people believe that wrong and right are both wrong and right. The Masonic check of black and white, confusing evil and good together, saying evil is good and good is evil. Disgusting. Woe to those who say that. Not rational, that. It's a contradiction of logic's law of identity. A equals A, period. That is absolute. He doesn't accept the basic law of logic. He's anti-logic. He's a logic phobe. Blind person touching a leg of an elephant is you moving a goalpost. We're not talking about blind people touching Jesus. We're talking about someone making a claim that he was a bearded lady. And if that claim was valid, based on scriptures, as the truth that he was and is actually not a lady. Maybe you are calling yourself blind. Similarly, every one of us have our own context, which is why blacks, whites, and Asians all disagree on Jesus' gender. Oh wait, they don't. They know the absolute truth. Jesus was not a bearded lady. Then he says, it depends. I didn't ask you what their insane perception is. I asked you your position, if it were equally valid to the bearded lady theory. So everything is relative again. Then your mom's a whore? It's relative. P.S. I don't mean she's a whore. It's just for the sake of argument to make a point undeniable for you. That your mom is absolutely not a whore. Unless she is. Mine is. Figuratively speaking. I think you have a very rigid idea of how things should be. Black or white, while the reality isn't the case. Really. It's very rigid. You know, it's very rigid to accept logic itself. Where is it? A equals A. That's very rigid. There's, logic doesn't care that it doesn't appease liars. Logic is narrow, and logic tells you it's only A. That's it. Now, if you define B as equaling A, and if that is actually true, then yeah, B can be equal A. For example, A equals man and B equals male. Then A equals B in that case. But in that case, it's still narrow because it means males are men, not women. So it's still narrow. Then he said, I answered your question, but it appears it doesn't fit into your narrow frame. Just try to come out of the box and open up. My answer is right there. And actually, I asked more than one thing, and he didn't answer even one of them unequivocally. You can't give me two choices of answers while that is... You can't give me two choices of answer, what? While that is your limited knowledge. You're basically asking me if the elephant is like a snake or tree trunk based on your limited knowledge and experience of feeling the tail and legs. Wake up, bro. Was my question too easy that you can't answer? Ha 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 ha. So after for black and white, I already answered this. I already read this, didn't I? Then your mom is half a whore. If black or white isn't the case, then your mom is half a whore. Either she is or she isn't. It's black or white. If she's a whore one time, that means she's a whore unless she repented. You're a narrow frame. 1 + 1 is 2. That's narrow. You can give many answers, but if they don't amount to the same, they're wrong. Truth is narrow. Your paradigm says that guilty people are innocent and innocent people are guilty. It's actually unethical. Based on your limited knowledge, you're acting as if you have unlimited knowledge to say that you know the truth, but not me. You're saying I'm wrong. You're being narrow. That's hypocrisy, liberal. You still have equivocated from both of my questions. Actually, there were probably 3 of them. I wait for you to answer clearly the simple yes or no questions, or I'll leave to make my video of our debate one last chance. And I waited long enough, an hour or so. I haven't refreshed the page, it's more than 45 minutes ago. And so let's review the questions that the liberal was afraid to answer. So it began with this: is it an absolute truth that there are no absolute truths? If you review the record, he never answers this clearly. He either says yes, there are no absolute truths, but of course he's not saying that, because he is actually saying this is absolutely true. When he says everything is relative is absolute truth. Oh wait, he did answer this. Hold on. Is it an absolute truth that there are no absolute truths? The problem is he fell for the trap question. He fell for the trap question. To not answer is cowardice, which means he loses in that case. But to answer it is falling into the trap question. Everything is relative is absolute truth. My bad. Sorry, guy. I forgot. I overlooked this because I was rushing. I was doing more than one thing at once. Hold on. Oh, I missed this. My bad. I rushed. So you say there is an absolute truth, but only when you decide it is. That's convenient. So you are a cherry picker and a hypocrite. You fell for the trap question. Liberalism is therefore nonsensical. Relativism defeats itself. You are against something unless it suits you. That means you are wrong because you don't even apply your own standard across the board. Across the board. What gives you the right? What gives you the right and not others? That is narcissism. That is narcissism. Liberals. Hold on. Liberals are narcissists. They pretend reality revolves around them. They preach about equality, yet they treat their view as the final word. They preach. They harp on about the virtue of relativism, of equality for all views, except when they feel like making a special exception for their own view. What a joke your ethics is when you are a god and everyone else must bow to your will. Arbitrary that. There you go. Yeah, he did answer one question. Well, he didn't answer, but you didn't unequivocally answer my other questions on Jesus being a lady based on the Bible or not, and the one about, what is the one? Your mom being a whore or not. It's a simple yes or no. You failed. And that is that. So liberalism is nonsense. Hypocrites that they are.